What's up, everybody? So the next sign I want to go through in the IC is Virgo. So if you have a Virgo IC, that means Virgo rules your fourth house. Virgo is the sign of service, perfectionism, and analyzing. So here in this sector of the chart, you were kind of in an environment where it was very like a pure environment. Virgo is represented by the Virgin, so there's like a purity to a Virgo IC. So if you think about that, like having something that's pure or there's no mistakes or anything, that can carry a lot of weight and a lot of judgment if, those things aren't satisfied. So one of the biggest things is that the home you grew up in had a lot of judgment surrounding everything you did. And, like a microscope was just constantly put on you for your actions, for what you said, for what you did, all of it. Virgo is also very detailed. It's very analytical. So it picks apart things, and it can, more than any other sign in the zodiac, if you look up, negatives of Virgo online, you get a long list. They're judgmental, they're nitpicky, they're analytical, they're cold, they're emotionless. They get a bad reputation. There are some good things about it though as well. So Virgo is also associated with health. But we're going to look at the judgment piece to start. So in a household like this, either one or both of your parents were very judgmental in some sort of way. They still could have been nice, but when it came down to like doing things and getting things done, there was a lot of judgment around, what you were doing. And as a result of that, especially as a kid, a lot of judgment, like no one wants to be judged. All of us like nowadays are like, don't judge me for, doing something or saying something. And unfortunately, like we don't have those words when we're growing up until, we've developed some awareness of the world and some discernment. So this like being constantly judged doesn't feel good. It creates a sense of shame. It creates a sense of guilt, and that anything you do has this high expectation to it, and there's this responsibility involved. So your parents put a lot of responsibility on you initially when, as you were a kid. And this also goes for Capricorn IC as well. So these two ICs in particular, because they're earth signs, there's a rigidity to them. So anything that you did, carried a lot of weight to it. And you had to do things in a specific order, in a specific way, in a specific structure to meet the expectations of your parents. They probably didn't give you like a ton of like, affection, but you knew when you did a good job, you knew when you didn't do a good job. So like there was this like development of like, I need to be perfect. I need to do this well. I need to, I need to do this. I need to do this. And as a result, it can create a lot of anxiety. It can create a lot of nervousness because you're just like, okay, that's not good enough. And then you have to try again and try again and try again. So this household like that you grew up in just felt like it was really never enough. The expectations were high, and like you knew when you did well and you knew when you didn't do well. Also, like growing up in something like this, when you go out into the world, you may be seen as like kind of odd to like the people around you and to your friends because like you are so ordered, you are so structured. And one thing like, that a kid doesn't want to think about is like order and structure and judgment and like all these other things that come with the negatives of Virgo. So when you were like trying to do things in a very like methodical, meticulous way, and other kids were just like playing in the mud or falling off a bike and hurting themselves and not really paying attention to all this stuff, it kind of made you cringe a little bit but also it may have been like stimulating to you because it's so different than where you grew up. But you could be seen as like the odd one because of, you know, like just like the order and the purity that you bring. And it's just like, okay, you know, it's like a porcelain doll. Like, you don't want to touch it or else you're going to break it. Another thing that Virgo deals with is health. So in this household in particular, health was a big deal in some sort of capacity. So it was either the foods you ate. People with this sometimes have food allergies, or their parents have food allergies, maybe one or both of them. And so as a result, like, you naturally can't eat certain foods. So like, let's say you have a peanut allergy, you can't eat nuts. You can't eat, you know, certain things. Or you have a fish allergy, like you can't eat fish. You can't eat certain things. And so those are off limits in the household. Not in other people's households, but definitely in yours. And so like, because Virgo is this pure sign, anything that really disturbs that purity starts to get to you. So like in your home, you would have like, you know, sugar wise, just fruit. So that's where you would get your sugar from. You wouldn't have like commercial stuff or Halloween candy or candy in general. You would find that if you went to other kids' homes or, you know, your friends' homes. But for the most part, like, you're seeing a lot of like healthy dinners, healthy meals. And, you know, like, as a kid, that can be kind of frustrating because you see on television all these advertisements for like the junkiest of foods where you're not getting that. So you're starting to question, like, why can't I have something like that? Why can't I do things like that? And it just feels weird. And it feels like that there's too much responsibility. You're maturing too fast and you feel like an adult, you know, way too fast. But when you go to your other friends' houses, and I'll get to this more when I get to the MC, which is in Pisces, you get like, you know, food coloring that you've never seen before, and like gummy snacks and processed foods and fast food. All this stuff would appeal to you in some sort of sense. But, you know, in this home, you almost are seen as like the golden child, and like that you have this responsibility set on you from a very early age, which, like, you know, that can, you know, it can disrupt a kid, especially like if they just want to be a kid. So like, as a result, like, you could be like a child prodigy in a sense of like you're really good at something. So Virgo really wants to be good at something to be of service for. So like, you could be really good at sports, let's say like a really good swimmer or a really good tennis player, but that is all your parents focus on for you. And if you step out of line, you know, they come down hard on you with like judgment and shame, and like they push you back on the path very quickly so that you don't end up like everybody else, that you are, you know, mastering something from a very early age. And, you know, this can create a lot of pressure, you know, that is just like put on you really young. And so like, you will start to escape, and like, you might escape through fantasy. So like books or TV or movies or anything that really gets into your imagination will be a safe haven for a Virgo IC. Now, to go back to the junk food stuff, what now happens is that once, you know, all of us leave our homes, we go to the MC, which is like our career, but also like how we are out in the world and how we experience things out in the world as well. So that sign is in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of compassion, of chaos, and really like this anything goes attitude. It's a water sign. It's not about boundaries. It dissolves boundaries. So when you get out into the world, you see like, oh, McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King, and like you could go like really wild because you want to dissolve all of these structures of like, I want to get as far away from my overbearing parents as I possibly can. I want to eat like all these cheeseburgers and all these pizzas, and I don't want to eat broccoli every night. I don't want to eat just plain chicken every night. Those are extreme examples, but that's what tends to happen in astrology, is that you start to inhabit the extremes first, and then you can temper them into more of the nuances. But it can honestly feel like Pleasure Island in Pinocchio, where like Pinocchio is, set on this very straight and narrow path, and then he gets this glimpse of what life could be, or what, like the idealized, romanticized version of it, and he goes wild. And so like the same thing can happen here at the Pisces MC. But this can be kind of dangerous because like there are no boundaries. This anything goes attitude like is good in a sense, because it frees you up and it really expands your awareness of what the world contains. But you got to be careful, just because like you can get into some real trouble when like you're going down a path like, Pinocchio, to go back to that, like he turns into a donkey and he doesn't really know what's going on at that point. You get confused, you get disoriented. Like it's a very hazy sort of feeling. So the key is to then go back down into the IC, to the Virgo energy, and really see like Virgo is all about meaningful work, and it's about meaningful service, and it's about health as well. So the key here then is to say, what do I want to contribute service-wise, and what work do I want to do that's meaningful, and how do I want to like look at my health as well, and also to re-engage with this idea of perfection, that all of us have a different perception when it comes to perfection. So your parents could see perfection as one way, but you see perfection as another way. So maybe perfection for you is buying secondhand furniture from a sustainable source, and that's perfect to you. Or you make a home-cooked meal once a week or every night. Maybe that's perfection to you. You really have to define it for yourself though. And then finding what that meaningful work is and that meaningful service, and really like living it, and having it represented in your home, and like your home as an adult. And also like looking at health. Like maybe you were a swimmer growing up. Maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe you really want to get into CrossFit, or you want to get into marathon running, or you want to get into climbing 14ers. You don't have to stay attached to what you were in your past. Like you can move forward from that and see like, oh, well, if I'm going to run a marathon, I have to eat like this. Or if I'm going to climb 14ers all the time, I need to eat like this. And maybe you start to enjoy it as well. But it's all about redefining your relationship with like what you deem as perfection, but also like what you deem as service, and what you really want, to contribute meaningfully in your work and in your day-to-day life. So Virgo's a lot about like your habits in your day-to-day life. And it's important that maybe you do want a cheeseburger once a week from, a fast food restaurant. That's okay. But moderation is the key with this one. That like you want to look at, okay, what was even good in childhood that I can bring forward, and what's good now that I can bring here, and merge the two together and really create your own order, your own structure from that point of view. And that really starts to heal you, because you don't want to be totally like rigid with your parents' structure, but you don't want to be totally boundless with, no structure whatsoever, where you're in a free fall. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below if you have a Virgo IC, or what IC video you would like to see. And I will see you guys soon. Libra is up next, and it is an air sign. Take care. See you guys soon. Peace.